Hello class, and welcome to yet another R video session. Today in this video, super short video, we're going to go over this little C command, or one of our closest friends in R, the little C guy. So get comfortable and let's get started. Okay, here we go. This little C. This is a command, one of the first we learned in R. And what it does is concatenate, which is just a fancy word for combine. It makes groups, ordered groups in fact, lists, vectors, which we'll go over, but essentially you can ask R to combine in order any group of things, whether these things be numbers, a group of numbers we want to use in the future. Often it's a group of character strings, right? Different names of maybe variables or whatever it is that you want to kind of create a list of names or categories. You can do that with this C. And you can do lots of different, you can combine even some bigger things like data frames even if you wanted to. But one of the key things to remember is that it's almost as if you're lining up these things in order, right? So you're grouping them together and putting them in a line and saying you're number 1 in line, you're number 2 in line. So it's not just that you can group things together, but the order of that group also matters. Now, this is one of the most foundational and frequently used commands in R. So let's dive into it.
Okay, here we are in our R session. And as you can see, I opened a new script by going up here, clicking new script. I saved it as C concatenate R, .r, that's because it's an R script. I haven't saved it again because I typed out my notes, R video session. C is for concatenate. And I can do fall 2023. Now I'll save, Control S, and it turned white, beautiful. Now, let's begin with reviewing what we already know, how to combine just different numbers and put them into an object that can go into our environment or our kitchen counter. Now, I have created a script and I'm copying and pasting from it here to save some time. And I'm going to copy paste some script that I have just first to make a list of numbers. And I've done this just off the top of my head. It's a list of, let's see how many numbers I can't count. Control Enter. All right, so it's 12 numbers over here, and as we can see, it's a numeric vector with 12 elements in it, and here are all of those, and this is what it's named. Now let's do another one. How about we do a list of songs? All right, so we will space things out for legibility. And there we go. I've copied it from my other script and I say now, songs, obviously by Taylor Swift. And I've got a series of them right here. I can't see the whole thing, so I'm just going to press enter here. Then just this enter doesn't actually add any code. This is just for legibility again, so I can run this whole thing like this, press Control Enter, and lo and behold, R ran it, and we have a character vector over here called songs with 6 elements in it.
Hello, my little circle face here again. I'm just popping in to talk briefly about the term vector versus list, right? Because you're hearing me talk a lot about, kind of throw these terms around, but what do they actually mean? They mean something specific in R. So a vector is what our combined command C concatenate makes. And a vector, it is a list, but it's a list that has only one class in it. Right? So there's only one class in R. It has to be the same class within a vector. So we've used this before and we'll see now if we try to put numbers and character strings into one list, R will force all the numbers to become character class objects. That way everything within that vector is the same class, right? List is something you can create a list and they don't have to be all the same class, but we don't really need to use that, so we're not going to. So when I say vector, I just mean a list, but everything in that list is the same class. Okay, back to work.
Now, this we pretty much know already, right? We've reviewed this before. This is how we can make vectors, which is a list, as we've just discussed. We can make a vector and, group them together and put them in a container on our kitchen counter, right? But what if I instead now want to use the concatenate or combine command to do something else? We're remembering that in programming, we want to, tell R to do something kind of bigger than just make a list here. In fact, the making of lists or vectors is in fact a kind of is usually just a step in a longer series of steps to program R to do something much bigger, right? So often we need to nest this command, the C command, within another series of commands. So let's see how that's done.
Hello, it's me again. Popping in for clarification. So you've heard me just say nested. What is nested? A nested command means it's a command within a command, right? So we know that anytime we give R a command, or to do some sort of function, right? For instance, concatenate, right? To combine. C. We can't just say C, we have to put C and then something in the parentheses, right? Concatenate what? Combine what, right? And so within that what, within those parentheses, we can also put other commands. So I want you to do this, and inside of this, I want you to do another thing, right? Let's look and see. It becomes more clear when we go through it with concatenate and the command sample. Take a look.
All right, so I'm going to copy and paste this right here, right? And I'm going to do another command C, this, right? Plus a nested command. I'm going to use the command sample, right? Now, I know that I created this num1 object on my countertop, right? In my environment over here. And it has 12 numbers in it. But let's imagine that actually I want a sample. I need to take 3 numbers from that and save them, right? I need to draw 3 numbers from the numbers that I had written earlier. So, and I want to make that into a new little list that I can save, or a new little vector that I can save over on my kitchen counter, right? I can do that by first saying, okay, well, I want the sample, right? So this is that command right here, right? You see it's sample, the command, and then parentheses, and everything in the parentheses is related to that command. So it ends right there at that parentheses right there, right? And it's saying sample from this num1 vector, but only 3 of them, right? So I only want 3 numbers from the num1 vector. And once you draw that number, I don't want it to be possible to draw it again. So replace would mean it could be drawn again, right? It would be replaced once it's taken out, like imagining a bag of all of these numbers up here, num1, and once I draw one out, I can replace it back so it's possible to draw it again. I don't want that. I want each of these 3 draws to be unique, so I say replace equals false. But then once that happens, I want to combine those 3 things and put it in a little object here, num1 sample. So I can put the command sample within the C parentheses here. You see? So it's this one and this one. I can put it between those 2 parentheses, and it'll do this command and then make a list based on that, or a vector based on that command, and put it in num1 sample. So let's see. Aha! So it drew 3, right? Just as I asked. 1, 34, and 6. Huh. Fascinating. Good. Let's do that again in a different way. This time I'm going to want to draw from my songs, right? And let's say I'm saying, you know what? What do you think? Pick the random top 3 of all of these Taylor Swift songs. Put them in a top 3 category, right? So here we go. I'm going to say top 3 songs. Use my arrow, and then I'm going to sample from the songs, the vector of songs I've already provided R. It knows this. It's in its kitchen counter. Take 3. And again, I don't want repetition in this sample, so I'm going to say replace equals false. Okay. Now replace equals false, by the way, is a element of this command. Again, if we hover over here, we can see what the elements are. So you can include these things to specify how to do the what of the command, right? So it's not just X, what to do the sample with, but how big the sample, should I replace it? What do I want a probability distribution? Do I want there to be more likely to be one song over another song? That kind of thing. And so that's what these equals are. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, take that sample, but then create a vector with that sample of the 3 songs and put it into top 3 songs. And what did it choose? Oh, fascinating. It chose the future song about TK, if you know, you know, and then You're on Your Own, Kid, and Evermore. Wow, I've been singing Evermore a lot lately. That's cool. All right. Now let's do another thing here. By the way, just press Control Save to make this saved. You want to save periodically all the time to make sure you don't lose what you've been working on in your script. Okay, so now with this up above, we put a command within the C command, right? We nested the sample command inside the concatenate command. But we can also nest concatenate command inside a different command. And here's how I'll show you how, right? Again, using it within a command, nested. And I'm going to create a list of albums. By who? You guessed it. And again, I'm copying and pasting from another script. One moment. All right, so let us copy and paste. Oh, there we go. All right, so I've copy and pasted here, and I am going to do using it within a command nested, which means that I'm first going to create a list of albums, and I've chosen a bunch of songs here from each of the albums. This is Taylor's version 1989. You'll notice that I put Taylor's version first. This is because if I put 1989 first, it recognizes it instead here as it's an error, right? It sees a numeric first. Any kind of object that you want to put on the countertop needs to be starting as a character string. And so I've got Red, Folklore, which doesn't need a Taylor's version because it was already when she was owning her own music, and Speak Now. And so I'm going to run all of this right now together. And hey, I've got a whole bunch of album lists over here, right? Folklore's up here, mostly 7 songs, those 6 for Red. And then I am going to now make a playlist. But how? Well, this is how. I am going to, here, I'll copy paste first, make a playlist, and I'm going to create, a playlist, Taylor Swift playlist. And then I'm going to use my sample command again, right? So here's the sample command, and here's the first parentheses, and here's the final parentheses, right? So this sample command holds everything between these parentheses. This is the what. And we remember that when we use the sample command, seeing here, the first element in that command is X, meaning what do you want to sample from? Right? Now, I want to sample, remembering, I want to create a playlist that draws from all of the different albums I've provided. Folklore, Speak Now, Red, 1989. I want to draw randomly from all of those albums together to create a playlist of 10. So in order to do that, I need to group all of the playlists that I have listed out together in a little vector, right? So I'm going to say, okay, sample, this is the X. See, it's the first thing before that first comma. It's take from this list, this vector, Taylor's 1989, take from the Red vector, take from Folklore vector, and take from Speak Now vector. That's the X from which I want you to sample from. Those are the different songs I want potentially included in my playlist. Now, I only have time for 10 songs, so just pick 10, and definitely don't replace because I don't want repeats, right? Let's see what ends up on this playlist. Let's print it out so I can see it down in the console. Let's see, playlist. I can just state it here. Not the one I would have chosen, but nonetheless, this is what R chose for me, and I'm grateful for it. Now, we know that you can use concatenate, right? Combine the C to create a vector, but you can also use it to extend a vector, right? So now looking back at my playlist and my specifically my songs for 1989, I feel like I forgot one that I really love, and I now need to add to it. So I can do that. I can extend my vector that I already have by doing the following. So I'll copy paste the code from the other script and say extend the vector example and add a possible song. So I feel like, oh shoot, I forgot You Are in Love. I love that from 1989. So I'm going to extend it by just saying Taylor's version 1989. I don't want to change, I don't want to create a new object. I just want to add to the ordered list already I have, right? And I'll say C, and I'll say what's already there in 1989 plus You Are in Love. And if I run that, then nothing gets added onto the actual countertop. But now 1989 has 8 elements in it, right? And they're in order. And if I hover over it, the last one over there says You Are in Love, right? So now it's added to my 1989 album list of songs that I want to be playing. But, you know, I was dissatisfied a little bit with the playlist that it provided me. So you know what? I'm gonna add a couple songs. I feel like there are songs from outside the albums that I provided that I want to also add. I can again extend the list within the nested C command. So what do I mean by that? Let me show you. I copy paste from my code other script to show you. Here, let's space it out for legibility. And okay, so now I'm going to create a new playlist, TS playlist 2. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to sample from a list of songs that I'm going to, for a vector of songs that I'm going to create using Concatenate and using other objects that already have songs in it, right? So ultimately what this list looks like is all the songs in 1989, all the songs I've chosen for the new 1989, all the songs from Red, all the songs from Folklore that I provided, Speak Now, but then I'm going to add Cruel Summer here and also Maroon. These are songs that are fun, so I'm going to add them on there too. I feel like listening to them. And again, I'm going to limit it to 10 songs and not replacing because I don't want any repeated songs. So what this is showing is that within the C, I can have both objects that have character strings in it, right? As well as just added individual character strings. And so if I run that and see what happens, let's see what it shows with me now. So let's print it out. I'm going to copy this and put it in a new line of code and print it. And this is a fun one. I like this. I like this playlist a lot, right? Okay, good. I feel more satisfied. Now, a quick note on this. Let's imagine that in terms of extending vectors, let's imagine that, watch this. If I take this extension, right, and I do it again, classes, right? I want this to be about classes, right? So, and also I'm going to make some more space down here just by enter. Now, if I had done this and instead also maybe put a number 9 here. This is just to demonstrate that what's going to happen if I put a numeric in here, whereas these two things are made up of character classes, right? If I run this and then print it out, I copy, just paste it in a new line of code, run it with Control Enter. So you see down here, 9 is, first of all, the first one in this list, right? Remembering that this is an ordered list, right? Or an ordered vector, right? And number 2, the 9 is no longer a number. It's no longer a numeric class. It's now a character class because, as we were saying, C is going to force a vector, which means that everything within the vector has to be of the same class in R.
Okay, so now you have it. The fact is that you're going to use this little C so often in coding with R that it's going to become kind of like second nature. That having been said, if you ever kind of get to yourself a little confused and you're thinking like, when do I use this? How do I use it? What can I not do? You can always just return to this video. So hopefully that can be helpful. In the meantime, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.